Hi friends, and welcome back to day 9 of our DIY craft making series. And today brings us beaded trees. Beaded trees. We're going to make beaded trees. So let's jump into it, friends, shall we? I am going to give you a few specs at the end of the video in terms of how much wire to cut depending upon the size of the tree that you want, meaning the, like the length, because you can make them really any length you want. We can squish them, we can expand them, we can do all kind of fun things. So and like I said, I have 10 inches worth of beads, okay? And so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to cut just around 13 inches worth of wire. That's gonna be ample plenty, okay? I'm gonna bend my wire right there just to make sure it doesn't fling off. Okay, and I'm gonna cut it down here. Okay, so I've cut 13 inches of wire for 10 inches worth of my beading, right? Now, the first thing that you're gonna do is, and you would do this before you bead, or you can do it the way I'm doing it after you started beading, is you're going to want to just turn in a regular loop at the bottom and flinging things around here. And so I use the use a 3 or 4 millimeter. If you're using on your bale making, if you're using your round nose, use the largest part of the cone that you have on your round nose, okay? And that's what I'm doing, and it's working out pretty good. I'm about to lose my beads there. And I'm just gonna turn in a loop. And I like to use, kind of like I said, a medium-sized loop for the simple fact that it actually does help stabilize your base, okay? So I'm gonna use my third step here, which is probably, I think that's probably a 4 millimeter or something like that. And I'm just gonna literally turn this around my wire until that loop meets the other side of my wire and make a simple loop. Just exactly like that. Okay, you see my loop there? Okay, and that's all we need to do. Okay, and now I can let all my beads go ahead and go down. Now, the next thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to grab the object that we're going to use to get our main shape, okay? And you want to hold this top for before we finish it off, because we do want to have some movement as we're twisting our beads so they don't crack, okay? So you don't want to really have this too tight up here. You want to hold that. So I'm going to hold this up here, and I'm just going to literally grab that loop I just made, put it on my object, and push all my beads, make sure all my beads are pushed down, and I am just going to start to roll this around in kind of like a cascading effect, like that, kind of like that. You don't want them to be too close, but kind of about ½ inch or so apart, okay? And now we're going to continue to manipulate this in a second here, but we need our main shape first, and that's how we get our main shape. Super easy, guys. And we're going to remove my object, put that to the side. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I am going to make sure that that loop on the bottom is facing the same way as the table. So I'm going to grab a pair of chain nose, and I'm just going to simply, I'm holding the other side, right? Still where my beads are on top here, I'm still holding that top. I'm going to just turn this loop where it's facing the table, right? Or in other words, the same direction as the beads, right? So you see that, what I have? So that if I laid it down on my workspace, that loop is facing flat. It's facing the same direction as the table, because that helps our base, like I said, okay? And so now what we do is just have a whole ton of fun. We just have a ton of fun, guys, and start to shape any way that we want, as you can see. right? How mine, some of them are more spread out, some of them are more pushed together. And we are going to start to shape it where each rotation, each circle that is above the previous is just a little bit smaller, and we're going to graduate it up. Okay? So in order to do that, what we're going to do is, again, we just made sure that our bottom loop is all set, and we have one full rotation on the bottom. So that stops about that bead right there across from my loop. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to just literally put my finger inside here, and I am going to take the second one here, and I'm going to begin to kind of turn it a little bit. So where it's a little bit smaller, you see that direction a little better, where it's just a little bit smaller than what's right below it. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the one right above that. And so we're going to kind of just turn the wire, okay, just to where it's kind of a little bit less than the previous one, and same thing, still holding that top to where my beads don't fling off, and I'm going to turn that around to where it's just a little bit smaller. So do you see in this direction here how it's, I've got like, this is the bottom, so I've got biggest, smaller, and then smaller yet, and I'm still kind of holding the top there. Now if you want to put, you know, a bend or a loop so you don't have to keep holding it, that's totally fine, guys. No problem there either. It's really just whatever you're comfortable. These are so easy, guys. Once you make one, you're going to see how easy, and you'll just continue to like modify how you're making them because there's just no rules. They're so easy. Okay, and so that's what I have now. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of set it there, and I'm going to see that it's just kind of leaning a smidge over to my left. So what I do to fix that is very easy. Again, we're just going to start to bend our wire towards us a little bit, depending upon the way it's leaning. So I'll just like kind of bend that a little bit like that. And you see by me just taking just this one bottom section right here, where my thumb is over here, and just bending it slightly. Do you notice how that just straightened it right on up? And that's all you need to do. It's so super simple. And so I'm going to put, I've got a little bit of wire, and I want a little bit more of a peak here. So I'm going to feed a few more beads on, okay? And so super easy to do that. Just feed a few more beads on here. Okay, there we go. And now again, I'm going to put my finger in the center, and then I'm going to kind of turn this where it's kind of almost hugging my finger and getting even smaller yet. At the same time, I'm kind of pulling it up to where it's going to be like my little top peak area here. Okay. And that is what I have. So you can see it going this way. Let me turn it this way, and you can see what it looks like. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4 rotations. Now, right here, guys, what you can do if you want to make it really tight, like I did this one, right? You can simply smoosh your wire together. Just simply push your wire together, and that's it. And you're good. Okay, you're still going to form it the same way I showed you, but you can make it tighter if you want to have it more, you know, tighter. It's just up to you. It's just all about what makes you happy, what looks good to you. Okay, and so now put my pliers in right there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and start to turn in a loop, and I'm just going to keep going, and I'll just make kind of a little twisty double loop, or looks like about a 1.5 or so. Okay, and that is what I have. Okay, you see that? Now, I can do whatever I want at this point in terms of the direction of my loop. Now, if I want to have it facing up, like these other couple I showed you, because I want to hang it as a little beaded tree on my tree, like an ornament, or put it on garland or whatever, all you do is put your chain nose over your loops, guys, and you're just going to turn it whatever direction. So if I want it up, because I'm going to hang, I'm just simply going to pull it up. So I just twisted towards me with my chain nose. Okay, and now as you can see, that loop is facing towards me. Now, if I don't want to hang it up and I want to hang them, or I want to lay them around for decor, which I intend to do with several of mine. In fact, I think several of mine I'm going to put underneath my tree, at the base of my tree, around my manger. I'm thinking for a couple of these, especially the red and the silver. So if I want to do something like that and just have them for decor, put it on my bookshelf, or wherever you want to put it, because they're just so cute, you just have to put them around, then we just do the opposite, guys. We can just turn the loop in. So we can kind of hide the loop, right? So I'll just put my chain nose, and I'll pull you down here so you can kind of see. So see, this is what it looks like, right? So there's your bottom. Just give you a nice close-up look there. How that loop is facing flat, right? So it's same as my workspace, and it's helping my base, right? And my loop is a little double loop, and I've got it turned up, so if I want to hang it. Now, if I wanted, like I said, to just have them sitting around as little decor, I'm just going to put my chain nose over the loop, and I'll just simply pull it down, facing the table away from me. And that now kind of almost hides it a little bit, right? Depending upon which way you look at it. Now, you could go even further, and you could completely turn it all the way in like that, okay? And then I would just kind of fix my little peak like that. If I didn't have a double loop there, obviously I just undid my loop, but you get what I'm saying, right? And so then, therefore, my loop is kind of facing in to where, when you're looking at it on the table or whatever, you can't really see your loop. Let me turn that back in and fix that. Super easy, just squeeze it back together. Using my chain nose for a round nose situation, but that's okay. Okay, and there we go. And that's it, guys. It's just that simple. That is how you make a little beaded wreath. And you can, like I said, you can use them for decor. You could also use them, I'm going to pull you up a little bit. You could also use them for little ornaments. And so I'm going to lay mine out here, friends, and show you what I have. And then I'll give you, like I said, in the beginning, I'm going to give you a little perspective as to what I did for the different links that I have here. And I think they go this way. Okay, so this one, and again, notice how in all of mine that, you know, they're not all really quite the same. Let me get them to where all the loops are facing down. There we go. And we'll face that loop down. And that one's down. Okay. Notice how they're all a little bit different, right? Meaning the depth, right, that I have in between each rotation. Some of them have different shapes of beads, different sizes of beads, like this one, right? I've got, started with the pearls, went around a full rotation. Then I did the 6mm rondelles, and then I did the 4mm bicones along with the little 2mm little pearl spacers, right? So there's just a lot of variations, but just to give you some perspective, guys, like for example, this brown one here, this one here is basically 2 inches long, okay? Let me get that in camera. So if this one is 2 inches long, and this one, I actually just used 8 inches of wire for a 2-inch. And then same over here, right? We just did 13 inches of wire, and that one ended up being about 3 inches, maybe about 2.5. But again, we have different size beads, right? And I have a different amount of spacing, right? This one is just little 8/0 seed beads, right? So I needed less wire, right? And for this one over here, this one I actually used 18 inches of wire, the silver one, and you can see why, right? Because I don't even know, it's over probably 100, these are 4mm spacers, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5 rotations on that, but I made it nice and snug together. So that's why I use that much wire on that one, which is about almost 2 3/4. And the blue one here, that one is about 3 inches. I use 16 inches of wire on this one and this one, the green one. And the green one is right around 3 inches as well. And although this one actually has one additional rotation, but the rotation on the top, as you can see, is just these little baby 2mm pearls. So, and then I just did one simple loop at the top, right? And on this one, I did a triple loop on the blue one. So same amount of wire on both of those, and same size, but just came out different because of the way I designed them with the beads. And this one over here, this one I used 20 inches of wire on this red and white one. And that one is around 3 1/4 inches. Around 3 1/4 inches, I use about 20 inches of wire. So that I hope helps give you guys an idea. Let me put them all up here, give you maybe a screenshot opportunity if you want to do a screenshot and try to, have some of your friends over and make some of these fun little Christmas beaded trees. They're so precious. And you could actually use these for decor and just change up your color for any time of year, really. There's no reason you can't have a little tree decor ornament. It doesn't have to necessarily be for the holidays. So you could use like something like this in these browns. I could put this about, in a little decor area. So it's a really, really fun idea. And so those are our beaded trees, friends. And thank you for joining me for day 9. We'll see you tomorrow for day 10. And we are almost there, guys. We are almost at the finale. I am so excited because this has been so fun. And I'm really excited because I'm thinking you guys are going to really love what I have in store for our final project. So thanks for tuning in, and happy Friday, everybody. Until tomorrow, be blessed.